But Christianity and Judaism, at their heart says, in the very beginning, God inclined his ear to you when, let's face it, you had nothing good to say, but he still wanted to hear it anyway. Towards the end of chapter 2, we read these words. During the long period, the king of Egypt died. It's kind of what we, just read. The Israelites groaned in their slavery and cried out. And their cry for help because of their slavery went up to God. Now pay attention to the word, the verbs here that have to do with who God is. God heard their cry or their groaning, and he remembered his covenant with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. So God looked on the Israelites and was concerned about them. God heard their cry or their groaning. He remembered them. He looked upon them. He was concerned for them. Now, as we think about those four words, they almost seem like the backdrop, like if you were explaining your faith and you were about to kind of launch into, maybe this would be just kind of the first half of the first sentence that you would talk about. And you would go on to talk about the cross, you would go on to talk about what God's done inside of your life. But I wonder, there is something very foundational here to our theology, to our understanding of who God is, but also how he works. And our identity, therefore, as people begin with the heart, the character, and the mindset of God. So we're going to look at these four words kind of in the remainder of our time together. God heard their cry. He heard their cry. Now, in the midst of this, other words that appear here, they're groaning, they're inward, crying out. They're petitions before God. That he understands what's going on deep within their hearts and their minds. Moses is going to refer to this phrase like elsewhere throughout the book, especially when he appears for Pharaoh and he says, God says, I have heard the cry of my people. Now, if God knows their situation, God in some way either opens up the possibility or at least approves of it that allows them to be in this, why would it be significant that God would hear their cry? Because after all, in some way, didn't he cause it? And those are big questions, and we'll kind of, grapple with those a little bit, but the key thing there is that God heard them. Do you know the God of the universe right now has not just the ability, but the willingness, and even takes the initiative to hear the cry that's on the heart of 6 billion people. Now you might say, whoa, not all of them are Christians. There's some that... Every human being who is made in the image of God, for whom Christ Jesus died, which is every person alive right now on the planet, God hears the deep cry of their heart. I can't listen to two people at once. But there's something inside the heart and the character of God to not only know, but to hear, to turn his ear towards them, to listen in, to lean in a little bit closer. In Psalm 34, when the righteous cry for help, the Lord hears. Do you know that God listens to you? What's even more astounding is God just doesn't listen to the words that you say. Because a lot of times we try to polish them up, we kind of, clean them up, we make them kind of nice and spiritual, but God actually hears your heart. That can be a scary thing for us because whatever's on your heart right now, God hears that clearly. More than what your words to somebody are going to be as you're leaving service today, God actually hears your heart. And I don't say that in an intimidating way, but I think it's an awesome thing that God hears us. A key aspect of our theology is that God is a self-revealing God. That all the other ancient religions said, this is what you do to get the God's attention. You go out and you do these rituals, you do these things, you conjure up enough things, you leave enough offerings, here on a high hill, you do these things and you can summon the attention of the gods. But Christianity and Judaism, at their heart says, in the very beginning, God inclined his ear to you when, let's face it, you had nothing good to say, but he still wanted to hear it anyway.